A Tiny Revolution features adults having adult conversations, which means that adult language is probably going to be present. Just so you know.
Hey there, my name is Robert Boyd, and I'm the host of CXMH, a podcast at the intersection of faith and mental health. Each week, I explore a different topic, and because I know there are people way smarter than me, I invite them along too. Join me each week to hear from people like Kay Warren, Stephen Mansfield, William Paul Young, Science Mike, Hannah Brencher, Ed Bacon, Amy Simpson, John Pavlovitz, Zach Ho, Scott Sauls, Jason Chestnut, Caitlin Coates, Mark Allen Chelsky, Brittany Moses, Sarah Fader, Jason Michelle, Nate Pyle, Gabe Howard, and more, as well as counselors, social workers, psychologists, and other mental health professionals. We talk about ministry, theology, mental health, and anything else we think is beneficial. Check us out on iTunes, Google Play, or online at cxmapodcast.com.
Hey there, you're listening to A Tiny Revolution, a podcast about regular, everyday people living revolutionary lives. My name is Kevin Garcia, and welcome to episode 50, my friends. We did it! We made it to episode 50. Now, just 50 more to go, and we'll make it to episode 100, which is going to be dope. I can't wait to get there. So anyways, hey, welcome to episode 50. I am glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining me once again for another revolutionary conversation. I hope you're doing well. I hope your March is going dope. It's been a really interesting month for me, for a number of reasons. A lot of personal changes with my father passing and some stuff happening in my personal life. So thanks to everyone who has been kind and reaching out and sending me love and encouraging me to do like some self-care, which is really dope. Cool projects I'm working on right now. I recently started my journey with medication to help handle my depression a little bit better. So I'm documenting all of that and I'm putting it on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do that for me because it helps with the reach, just like subscribing to a podcast and rating it also helps with the reach. So go subscribe on YouTube. It's just youtube.com/hello, I'm Kev-in. So like HELLOIMKEVN. So leave out the I in my name. Anyways, go subscribe over there and look out for that little mini documentary that I'm putting out. I'm very excited about sharing that part of my journey with you. So today on the podcast, I have someone who I've had an internet crush on for forever joining me to talk about a number of things. Mostly we're talking about being queer on an evangelical campus. No, it's not Nathaniel Totten, although he is wonderful, but my other internet crush, J Stout. J Stout is an unapologetically gay Christian, doing her best to navigate faith, academia, and activism while attending an evangelical university. She's passionate about LGBT equality in the Christian higher education and has worked as an organizer and advocate for the closeted students on her non-affirming campus. She's also a writer blogging about the intersections of faith, sexuality, with the goal of helping queer folks recognize their status as beloved children of God. Caitlin's professional interests include sociological theory, sexual ethics, identity formation, and suicide prevention among LGBT youth. Her personal interests include coffee, glitter, haircuts, and breakfast food, which same girl, same. She is currently serving at an Episcopal church and is in the process of enrolling in a Master's of Divinity program, and she's gonna come to Atlanta. She just doesn't know it yet. Sorry, I'm very passionate and very pro Caitlin in Atlanta because obviously I love my city. Anyways, she also believes that Reformation is possible and hopes to play a small role in teaching the church to love and celebrate its queerness. So, if you haven't already, grab yourself a coffee, something to drink, grab a friend, send this to them later, and hang out with me and my friend J Stout. So, you are J Stout. The J stands for, is that a mystery?
It's my only secret.
Wow.
I feel like I have to have one thing that I don't tell the internet, and so I'm just
keeping the J. The J is a secret. Well, I'm gonna just try and figure it out during the cohort. All right. Wiggle my way in there. Anyways, hi, welcome to this conversation. So, for people who don't know who you are, what you're about, could you give them like a little snapshot of J Stout, what you've been doing for the past couple of years and what you're doing presently / what's coming on the horizon?
Yeah. So you said my name is Caitlin Stout. I am a recent graduate, almost kinda. I recently finished up my coursework my undergraduate work at Spring Arbor University, studying sociology and urban studies, which was a good time. Yeah, I just finished up there and am currently in between schools, getting ready to start grad school somewhere. Have a few offers on the table, and we'll be pursuing my MDiv over the next few years, which I'm super excited about, and is also a major plot twist in my life. I would not have anticipated a call to ministry.
Same, girl, same.
Yeah, you get it. I
Yeah.
always joke that realizing that I was called to ministry was probably just as terrifying as realizing I was gay.
Yo, if not more terrifying.
Yeah, you get it.
Yes.
And I was like realizing those two things about the same time, which made life extra confusing for a while. But
Yeah.
we're making it. Yeah. So this past year has been a wild ride of kind of being. I came out to all my friends and family just over a year ago, over like Christmas break. And then came out online and started blogging and tweeting about faith and sexuality last summer. And it's just been this process of kind of being thrown into a lot of advocacy work and activism on my campus, which is a very much non-affirming conservative evangelical university. And we've had a lot of incidents that have kind of brought this underlying homophobia and queerphobia kind of to the surface, and has made people pay attention on campus to a lot of the injustice that's been going on for years. Being one of the only few out students on campus, the few of us who are out and willing to have these conversations have kind of been thrown into this position of serving as a bridge between closeted students and administration, and kind of trying to be a voice and make some slow and much needed progress.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my life right now. I'm in this position where I'm no longer a student, but I'm still living in the area until I move for grad school. And so I'm in this cool place where they kind of can't do anything to me. So,
Yes.
So it's been a lot of meeting with administrators, meeting with students, trying to make voices heard and make things better as much as I can before I head out and go on to the next stage of life.
The thing that has just been so incredible for me to watch over, I guess, the course of this past semester for you, and just like even like so like your fall semester, yes, but like in the past few months, it feels like the backlash from you and your posse like pushing for some modicum of equity,
Yeah.
and just civility really, has been met with like a very hostile response from administration and from folks in places of power, and kind of just like the student body who would probably fall into the more conservative camp of things. Like this is something I don't know if you relate to this, but just like not having any private moments since I've come out, because I came out on the internet and I started talking about my experiences, and it's this is something my therapist told me. It's just like, you don't have anything private going on. Like, how are you feeling with being out and open and all that stuff, but then also like being not shoved, but like, kind of, this is like the mantle you have to bear because you're in this place at this time with this capability. What's it like being kind of just like an accidental activist, if you will?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. Yeah, it's really interesting because before all of the online writing and the attention in that regards, this was about the time I was realizing a call to ministry, right? Because I was out to the people around me and to my loved ones. And so I was out enough on my campus that I had people coming out to me, which is beautiful, and I love it. And so for a while, I was very much just in this position where sorry about that.
Okay.
For a while, I was just in this position where I was doing one-on-one relational ministry, and ministry looked like getting coffee with people who were, scared and were just figuring things out, and needed someone to talk to, and that was beautiful, and I loved it, and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And as things became more public, those coffee dates went from people coming out to me to people to more people reading my stuff and wanting to get coffee because they're just not too sure about this whole gay thing, and they just want to hear my side of it, hear my story.
They just I just really want to be dedicated to hearing more stories. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
Oh my god. Not that those are like always disingenuous.
Right.
But like my fear with people just like wanting to like consume queer stories is that at the end of the day they're not going to do anything with it, and they're just like, oh my god, I did my job. I listened to my gay friend. It's like I'm like fine. Right. Even though like I think homosexuality is wrong, like I like my gay friend though.
Right. Exactly. And so it was this learning curve of like figuring out which of those coffee dates to say yes to and which ones to hold back on, and because like you said, not all of those are disingenuous, and I think those conversations can be fruitful, but I don't know, this past year has definitely been a time of trying to clarify for myself my own like mission statement in a way, like, am I here because I want to minister to other queer folks? Am I here because I want to be a bridge between queer folks and straight people who aren't sure? Am I here to try and change policy on campus? And the answer to all of those is still like, I don't totally know. And it's definitely just been a time of trying on different hats and seeing where I'm most effective. And it's been a challenge, but it's been a time of a lot of growth and a lot of learning how to say no, and I don't know, just kind of using my gifts where they fit best, and also learning how to see gifts in other people and kind of empower them to take on roles that I am not best fit for.
Yeah, and also because like you're leaving, and if someone's going to continue the work, like people have to have the language. And it's so interesting, like, like I feel like so many of us, like especially like in Christian community, like we kind of like fall into this role of accidental activists because no one else is going to do it,
right? Yeah.
And then we end up getting vilified. Sometimes we end up being like the person that like the administration or the leaders of a church have to pay attention to but don't want to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And because like yeah, because just like if they don't pay attention to us, we'll get everybody to pay attention to them,
right?
And not in the way they're wanting to.
Exactly.
What can I ask about your like with like looking at how the administration at your university has responded? I don't even know where to start with. Just like general feels about just like how the administration is like doing or not doing a job with like addressing the needs of queer students.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I should give some background information about everything that's going on at Spring Arbor. So this whole, Spring Arbor has been a mess for queer students for forever, right? Right. It's never been a safe place to be queer, and there are plenty of horror stories going back from before I was a student here. But this past year, it's all kind of come to light. And that kind of started in the fall semester in November, I believe, when there was a very homophobic chapel speaker, and a few of us were just fed up with having to sit through that and having to hear it. And so not at all with the purpose to protest, but with the goal of just being together. A few people went and sat on the library steps, and we had our rainbow flags out there, and we were just basically there to be visible so that anyone who needed to come and talk and mourn and just be sad or frustrated and angry could come and sit with us and see us there. And basically what happened, this woman, a community member, she wasn't student or faculty, but this woman came out from the library and basically started screaming at us, saying all these awful homophobic graphic things and just berating us for 10 minutes. And it was rough, and which was bad enough on its own, but then the controversy kind of happened because we had an administrator approach our group, and before asking this woman to leave, turned to us and told us that we were causing the scene and that we needed to disperse.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So that was the drama there.
Oh, that's disgusting.
And we were basically told that our gathering there was against school rules, that we needed to have a permit, we couldn't have rainbow flags, anything like that. And
I bet you if you had an American flag, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Oh yeah, there was someone last year with a Trump flag in their window. I'm just saying.
Double fucking standards, yeah. God.
So that was a time.
Oh my God.
And basically that incident led to me and a few other students who were involved basically spending the rest of the semester meeting with administrators, trying to explain to them what was wrong on campus, what needed to change, trying to explain that, like, this is not an isolated event, this is an example of the environment we're living in every day. But so much of this has been made more complicated by what we refer to as the advocacy clause, which is this line in Spring Arbor's handbook that is basically after all the rules against premarital sex, homosexual activity, all that kind of stuff.
The lifestyle.
Yeah, the lifestyle. There's one line in the handbook that says, this includes the defense, promotion, or justification of any of the aforementioned activities. So what that means is it is against the rules for you to advocate for LGBT rights and equality.
So, like, you can't even say, like, who I am is okay.
Right, yeah. The way I word it when I explain this to people is basically at Spring Arbor, you are allowed to be gay as long as you hate yourself for it.
Word.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's...
Yep.
Yeah, I'm there for that. Sounds about right.
So, like, this past semester, or the last semester I was on campus, I was told I had to take the rainbow flag down from my wall in my own room. I couldn't have that because it was against school policy. It's against the rules to...
For those of you on the end of podcast land who can't see this, my jaw is like on the floor, detached from my head and rolling across the floor right now. That's where we are today.
Yeah, it's a time. And so, obviously, it seems obvious to me, a simple step forward is removing that one sentence in order to make it possible to even have a conversation about, LGBT issues and theology. So that's been
Because I think so many, like, administrators or leaders across, whether it's churches, universities, community groups, or just communities in general, people want to, quote unquote, have conversations, but with something like that says, like, you can't advocate for yourself.
Right, yeah.
You can't be yourself. You can't like yourself. It seems really, that's not a conversation that is being dictated to.
Yeah.
And that's not exactly. That's not even in, like, the spirit of, like, Christian disagreement.
Right.
And that's so troubling.
Yeah, for sure. And so the push that students have kind of been focusing on for these past few months has been the removal of just that one sentence in the handbook, which does not require anyone to change their theology. It's not even asking for same-sex dating to be permitted or anything like that. It's literally just asking for conversation to be allowed and for people to be allowed to advocate for themselves, defend themselves, for professors to be allowed to be openly affirming without risking their jobs, and just to make it possible for us to have a visible support system without being afraid of being expelled, basically. So that's been the push, and it's in some ways it has been a hopeful experience, and in some ways it has been deeply troubling because, I don't know, a cool thing about it is we've seen a lot of straight people, and especially students, who have, just never had to think about this. They've never noticed this handbook, this line in the handbook. And it's been cool to see people suddenly paying attention and being like, wait, what? Holy shit.
That's not cool. Do you have much of, like, a group of allies, like a strong group of allies on campus, or not really?
We have some online networks that we've been building up. That's the thing about Spring Arbor it's so frustrating and hard for me to reconcile, is it's full of so many good people, so many solid allies, but as an institution, and because of things like the advocacy clause, like, no one's even sure if they're allowed to organize or be vocally supportive. And so there are plenty of people at Spring Arbor who are on our side, but they're scared to be on our side, you know.
Yeah.
And for fair reasons.
It's hard.
But it's been very cool to see allies kind of come out of the woodwork and realize the extent of the troubling environment at Spring Arbor. In other ways, it has been very frustrating because the pattern we've seen is, in these meetings with administrators, I don't know, we're told one thing, and then the email that goes out to the student body tells us another thing, and then the email that goes out to the donors and the alumni says a totally different thing. And it's very much, I don't know, I kind of feel like I've been being gaslighted for the past 3.5 years as far as, how Spring Arbor is treating queer students and how we're supposed to react to it. But
God,
yeah.
I want to come and like burn the whole place down. Of course, that's just like my temperament towards so many different things.
That's fair. We usually just leave glitter places.
I mean, that's just what happens when you're gay, though, right?
Right.
It's just like you touch something. It's like, oops, sorry, let's flip it there. Yeah,
Too real.
I'm sorry that that you have had to like walk through all of this, and your fellow students have simply, I went to a liberal arts university. I wish I would have been out when I was in college so that I could have experienced like more of like gotten in touch with more of my queer identity sooner in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't it's one thing to be, gay in the South and gay at a non-Christian university. It is a totally different thing to be in a place that actively suppresses your identity. And like what I don't understand, and I'm sure that you've said and shared with the administration, that like you are making your students afraid. Like why would you want your students to be afraid to be at your university?
Yeah.
Like it boggles my mind that like you're not, like, if you're not working in the best interest of your students, what are you doing?
Right.
No, I know what you're doing. What you're actually doing is you're protecting your power, your privilege, your money that's coming into your university. You're protecting your job, which, like, sure, if we want to talk about the church as a business, sure, but the church is not a business. It is an institution that's supposed to be serving the greater good of the world.
Amen. Yeah, for sure. It's been like I said, there's so many different layers to this institution, and it's interesting because I feel like I always say Spring Arbor University has undoubtedly made me a better and a stronger Christian, just in none of the ways it meant to.
Yeah.
And it's been a place that has prepared me for ministry once again in a way that it did not intend. And definitely a place that I believe has prepared me academically for graduate school. And like I said, I've built so many beautiful relationships there and with professors and students, but overall the institution, it feels like a place that has been actively working against my success, and it's hard for me to, I don't know, going forward and stepping out of that environment and suddenly being like, I've been in an environment for 3.5 years that like romantic relationships were against the rules for me, and suppressing that, suppressing that, not because I personally believe that it's sinful. I'm very much affirming and proud of my own identity, but suppressing that just like logistically for the sake of not risking my education,
Yeah,
and so like
for
stepping
survival.
out of that environment and suddenly being like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh, like in like the dating world and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it can be weird.
Oh yeah.
Are you experiencing what many call the second adolescence?
See, I think this is number 3 for me.
Work, yes.
I already did number 2 my junior year when I came out, and junior year was stupid. I was stupid.
Weren't we all though? Didn't we all go
yeah,
like on
probably.
1,000 dates with like 1,000 of the wrong people?
We all have a junior year, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we all.
But yeah, now I'm like getting ready to move to a new city and live on my own, and I'm like, oh
It's
boy,
gonna be
I don't
Atlanta,
know what's
Georgia,
going.
right? It's gonna be Atlanta, Georgia.
Maybe I'm visiting soon.
I
Gotta,
know. Is
gotta
it
hang out.
is it this Sunday?
Next Sunday. Yeah.
Work. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Because this. Okay, I'll be back by the afternoon. Hopefully, I'm actually might be
Cool.
going to Y Christian.
Oh, nice.
My friend, you know Matthias. Matthias might
Yeah.
have an extra ticket for me,
Oh, cool. What day? When is that?
like a week from today. So
Nice. I
yeah,
wanted to go to that so bad.
yeah, I wanted to go,
Yeah.
and it sold out / monies with
Yeah.
getting ready for my own schooling and education.
Yeah. I feel it.
Something that I like resonated really deep with me, like you said at the very top of the podcast, was realizing my call to ministry was in some ways scarier than coming out.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with that statement, because I felt like even since I was a little like a child, like I knew kind of somewhere in my gut, like when I saw my uncle on the pulpit, that I'm supposed to be up there.
Yeah.
And not knowing what that was going to look like and feeling disqualified for the majority of my life. And then like coming to like the far end of everything, and I'm not one to like make a theodicy out of every little bitty thing, because like I think that's annoying when people do that. But it's amazing how when I have finally chosen to pursue my theological education and to be trained up in like a sound environment as a pastor and get my MDiv, how many doors have started to open wide. I'm talking finances, I'm talking like living situations, like everything just has kind of started to fall into place in a way that I didn't think was possible to be orchestrated in that manner.
Yeah. For sure.
But it's scary, because like when you say that I feel like I'm called to be a pastor, or I feel like I'm called to minister in some sort of capacity to the world as a queer person, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if you experience this, but I still have like all these things that are just like, is it really me? Is it really supposed to be me? Do you ever feel like mild imposter syndrome?
Oh, for sure. Every day. I think for me, because this is just my personality, I sometimes I have to check myself and make sure that I am not doing things as a big screw you to people who say I can't.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do, for sure. Which is like the majority of the reason I do certain things. I'm just like, oh, you say that I can't, honey.
Watch me, yeah.
Yeah.
And so for a while, as I was kind of experiencing this call to ministry, I was like, is this an actual calling, or is this me saying like, oh, you say I can't be a Christian? Well, screw you. I'm gonna be
fucking
extra
stay a
Christian.
I'm the best goddamn Christian you've ever met. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening, that I said goddamn and Christian in the same breath.
It happens. But for me, I had this moment, and I hope the professor who did this is listening, because yeah,
me too, especially.
No, it's a good thing. But I had this moment last year where one of my professors was putting on a just a small like worship service in one of the chapels at Spring Arbor, and this is one of the people who has definitely been I don't know, a very supportive voice and a very important voice in keeping me sane at Spring Arbor.
Yeah, we all need that one professor there.
Yeah, one person. And he invited me to help serve communion at this service. And I'm gonna cry just telling the story.
It's all good. Keep going.
But having this experience of that invitation from someone who, you know, knew I was gay and wanted me to be part of this service and wanted me to serve communion, and just saw me as a spiritually whole and intact person. That experience, coupled with the fact that I was serving communion not only to queer folks who some of whom had been rejected by their own churches, but that I was also serving communion to people who might not have been taking communion from me if they knew that I was gay, and this moment of, I don't know how to explain it. This moment of being at the table with people who have been so hurt, and with people who embodied the theology that hurt them, was this really emotional and confusing and hard to swallow thing, but was also just so beautiful. And I just had this moment of serving the bread at that service and feeling very much certain that this was something that I was meant to be doing. And that was a very formative moment, and I don't know, just kind of realizing that this is this is good.
Man, I think that the life of being a Christian, especially one who's radically committed to intersectional justice and who's queer, like the fact that we have all of these weird things living inside of us, all of these paradoxes. To be a Christian with all of the rest of our identities is very much a paradox, because of that very thing you just mentioned of when we say that a table is built for all people, we also mean the people who hurt us the most and who are actively hurting us. And it's so hard to want to build a table big enough for those people and to clear space so that every voice is heard. I find it so hard for me to kind of I'm always going to be the kind of person who wants to try and prize the most vulnerable identities and voices first. And it takes a good chunk of my heart work to remind myself that even the image of God also lives in these people who fail to see the image of God in me.
Yeah. And
it just sucks sometimes. It's
it's so hard.
I'm like, God, this isn't fair. But then God whispers to me, it's well, that's grace. So what are you gonna do?
Yes.
I don't know how the voice of God talks to you, but the voice of God to me talks very sarcastically.
Very sassy, yes.
Very Lady God is so sassy.
I love it. Yeah, I've been struggling a lot with that concept of grace. Or more so with how people use that concept of grace oftentimes as a weapon against oppressed groups. Because I don't know, I've seen so many messages as we've been the Queer Spring Arbor students have very much been we've taken to social media for these campaigns because we realized the meetings we were having with administrators weren't working, so we just kind of took it online. And I've gotten so many messages and seen so many posts from people kind of, I don't know, just telling queer students that we need to be showing more grace right now, and that we need to and and it's here's the thing: grace for people, grace for individuals who are trying, and grace for individuals is a good and beautiful thing that we are called to. Jesus did not show any grace for oppressive systems. Or it's just so many times you see Jesus showing grace towards people who are living in sin, who are trying, who are working towards being better, who are at least asking questions. Jesus shows grace, but when it comes to societal sins, Jesus didn't have grace for that, and I don't think we're called to either.
He rolled up in the temple and said, "This is exploitation. Flip the tables."
Exactly.
He looked at the group of men who brought the woman who was caught in adultery and said, "Throw a stone, I dare you."
Exactly. And so it's been hard to, I don't know, read those messages and to, I don't know, I just can't imagine seeing a group of vulnerable people fighting an institution and worrying that the institution's feelings are going to get hurt. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because it's it's that straight fragility, white cis fragility. We're they're just I feel like you're gonna lump me in with those people because I love you, but I'm not one of them. So be more graceful. And I guess that's the same any sort of identity fragility. that when you are, the thing to remember when marginalized individuals are calling out the bullshit is that if the critique does not apply to you, it does not apply to you.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you aren't asking the question of why we're demanding change or justice for ourselves, like, then you're not even like, you don't get to talk to me until like you start asking those questions.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I feel like, I don't know, like if this is just like the season that I'm in right now, but just like I'm not ready to fuck with people who don't even like want to have those things, because it's the same thing that you just said. Like with the church I just left, it was Grace Midtown Church. They adopted a non-affirming policy, and I hear are also making their volunteers and leadership sign a form that says, I am not participating in the homosexual lifestyle, and if I know of other people who are, I'm going to confront them and or tell pastoral leadership.
I've signed those, yep.
AKA gay witch hunt.
Ugh, gosh.
And it's one of these things where it's like, I cannot believe that after, it's like the same thing you said, like after 3 years of having meetings and lunches and providing resources and making myself readily available, that all of a sudden out of the blue, you're just going to, what you said to me and what has actually happened are not lining up.
Yeah.
It's a matter of integrity. And the thing that I hate more than anything is when administrators, leaders, whoever will apologize and continue to do the same thing. I'm just like, your apology is empty because it has zero repentance in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't, it's kind of like Alicia Johnston said at TRP in Chicago, like, stop trying to change your shitty theologies, quit trying to like make it work around. You need to be born again.
Yeah, she was so good.
Alicia, if you're listening to this, also I need to get you on the podcast, so like, call me girl. That's how I get all my podcast listeners now, is I just rope them in,
seems true.
call them out on the air. Oh my god. Switching gears ever so slightly, because I actually would love to pick your brain a little bit about like presentation, maybe just like, and so as somebody myself, well, may I ask really quick, like gender wise, you identify as cis lady?
Yeah.
But you are kind of like a masculine of center presentation. Would you say that? Yeah,
for sure. I very much enjoy the androgynous gender presentation. I don't know. I like screwing around with gender a little bit. I like ambiguity, you know?
Yeah. And you wear it well, as RuPaul said. Has it been how did you come to a space of like feeling like more at home with like your style and your presentation? Because I am currently like in the process of like exploring what it would be like to be a little bit more femme in my presentation.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a fun question. Let me think.
And how has your style evolved, maybe?
Ooh,
to fit
this
like
is fun.
To fit like and really encompass how you feel on the inside.
Yeah. All right, let me think where to start here. So yeah, I always I always joke that it's completely absurd that I even had to come out, because I could not pass for straight.
Grass is green, sky is blue.
I wanted to, right? I think my coming out conversation with one of my friends started with, "I cannot believe I have to say this."
That's funny.
But yeah, it's I have a really, I don't know, complicated, relationship with I think there are differences between gender presentation, performance, and identity, you know, and and it's interesting because I feel very comfortable in all three of those, but they don't align in ways that people expect them to, right? Mm-hmm. So I think when and even within the LGBT community, when someone sees a woman with, you know, short hair who wears lots of button-ups or denim or leather jackets, whatever, there's a certain set of assumptions about how that person is going to act and behave and their role in a relationship, all that stuff. And it's really interesting because even though my gender presentation is very much a masculine of center, gender presentation, I do not perform masculinity in any other way, right? Like
right.
I don't know. I always joke that I have a lot of the flamboyant mannerisms of a gay man, and all the denim jackets of a very butch lesbian. But,
Same.
But neither of those really work for me. Like, neither of those are true. And so it's this interesting thing of being so comfortable with how I look and so happy with how I look and how I present myself and how I carry myself in the world, but also being very aware that other people see it and perceive me in completely incorrect ways, and make completely incorrect assumptions about my personality and about who I am. And so, like, coming to terms with that is an interesting thing. Take all of that and then add the fact that being really obviously queer on a conservative Christian campus and in a small town, birthplace of the Republican Party, that's my hometown.
Wowzers.
And so, holding all those things in tension is a really interesting thing. I don't know, but it allows me to kind of fuck around with gender in some fun and creative ways. Like I don't know, I put on nail polish and it somehow makes me look gayer. I don't know how that works.
Well, because like, if people perceive you to be a gay man, you put that nail polish on. Like, oh my god, is that a gay guy? Oh my god.
So I just like I confuse people and it's fun and I'm having a good time doing it. But
rock and roll.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting, and I wonder about. I guess this is just like me talking out loud and maybe processing a little bit, which is always fun to process unprocessed thoughts on the air.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. So I've been kind of like working through like what my gender identity is, because like it actually kind of like hit me yesterday, like on International Women's Day. I was like, tweeting the things and like, I often have remarked to like my therapist that the place I feel most comfortable is like in a group of queer women or queer like female bodied individuals. Cause like being in a group of like exclusively just like gay cis men weirds me out. And like, I don't feel at home there. And like, there's certain things I've wanted to do with my presentation, that are like a little bit, because like I can't like, as someone who like the way my body is shaped, I don't think I could pull off an androgynous look very well, just because like, I'm a thick girl. But it's like this like weird I felt like a very much like an in between, like some days it feels one way, other days it feels like I'm pulled another way. And I think it's interesting, like if like a female bodied individual takes on more masculine traits or like presents in a more masculine way, like it typically is like not as threatening as if like or like weird as if like a male bodied individual, like if I decide to like put on a face of makeup, wear lip color and do my nails, like that in some environments, in many environments, especially in the South, I'm going to get stares, I'm going to get looked at, I might not be safe depending on where I am and what I want to do. I often think about that in like regards to my job as well, as like, because I rely on tips, for my day job. And so if I'm at work, like, and I am, gussied up or whatnot, I've never used the term gussied up before. But I just wonder, like, even if I feel at home in my body or in my presentation, like, what is that going to do for like my livelihood and survival?
Yeah.
It's weird. And sure. I often find myself like sometimes a bit jealous of like androgynous female bodied individuals, because like there's like a little bit of that like in betweenness that I can't make my body look any different than it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's beautiful and interesting, and it's something I'm trying to explore and like wonder about for like the next stage of my life. Like, what is it? Who am I becoming, Barbara? Yeah.
Right. I had an interesting conversation with someone. Well, I don't know, just thinking about the concept of being visibly queer or being able to pass. And I had this conversation a while ago with someone, with a family member. I was talking about think I was headed to Chicago or some bigger city. And they're like, be careful, like cities are dangerous, be careful. And I, at this moment, I was like, yeah, that's fair. But also, I realized like, how much safer I feel in those cities compared to, like, over the summer, I lived in this small farming town in Michigan. Like, I was like, I feel so much safer walking down the street in Chicago than I do, like, going to the grocery store in Hillsdale, Michigan, And it's, yeah, I don't know, it's just interesting the way that presentation, the way that, I don't know, queerness is seen and read by non-queer people, how much that impacts just small daily decisions, like, whether or not you're going to use the public bathroom or wait until you get home,
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
and what sucks is like I was like, I don't want to make these decisions. Like I would really just like to do what I feel and then like move on with my day.
For sure.
It's interesting. Injustice. How does it feel though? Like real talk though. What does it feel like to be a style icon for gay Christian world? Like, what does it feel to be like?
Is that a thing? Is that...
Oh my God, Caitlin J Stout, you don't know that your fashion goals for so many people, including yours truly. Like I said, you put like these OOTDs up on Instagram. I'm just like, yes.
High school Caitlin would be shook. No, I cannot tell you the best thing that's ever happened to my wardrobe is is no longer caring about looking too gay, like,
yeah, truly.
Because like I said, like, I've never been able to pass, right? Even when I had long hair and like thought I was straight, like I've got a gay face,
Oh my gosh, I said gay face. Okay, like real talk.
Thing.
When I was in 6th grade, like that's when people started calling me a faggot. It was in 6th grade, and I think it's because of gay face.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Totally.
And so like for so long, I was so scared of wearing anything that would make me look even gayer than I already did,
Mm-hmm.
And my gosh, coming out, fashion's like one of my favorite things now, and that's been so fun to be able to finally feel comfortable exploring, and
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I love it.
For other queer humans out there who may be afraid to like jump into their own fashion experience, what would you say to that human?
Oh my gosh,
What encouragement would you give them?
Wearing something that makes you feel confident is the best thing in the world, and I don't know. I don't know. That's all I got.
There it is.
There it is.
Being that we are coming to like the close of the hour, I've enjoyed our conversation. So
good.
It was lovely. I like you very much. And I think that you should move to Atlanta.
Maybe.
Nope. I'm just like, here's the deal. I'm here to, my name is Harvey Milk and I'm here to recruit you. Like, here's the deal. Should I create a PowerPoint?
Harvey Milk reference.
What if I make you a PowerPoint presentation and present it to you in Chicago?
I will hear you out.
Okay. Me, Markham, and Rachel Ward and Darcy Jarrett. We'll have like a joint presentation. It'll be like one thing in your schedule, but for nobody else.
Just my schedule.
That was my conversation with my friend Caitlin J Stout. You can contact and be in touch with Caitlin on all of the regular platforms like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at Caitlin J Stout, where honestly she might be the funniest person on the internet. And also follow her on the Instagrams for queer Christian style goals, because she is flawless, to be honest. And you can also read some of her writing at CaitlinJStout.com. Special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters for helping make this program possible. If you haven't already, check out Patreon and the cool things that we're doing over there. We've been ramping up some new programs coming up. I'm redoing the devotionals for a while because I've fallen behind and I need to figure out a better way to do that. So if you're one of my subscribers for the daily devotional, my apologies for falling behind on that. It's just been a radically crazy month for me. So thank you for your patience on that. But big thanks to all my Patreon supporters. And if you loved this conversation, if you thought this conversation was something that was revolutionary for you, or you think that it could help contribute to a better narrative for LGBTQ Christians and just a better conversation in the church, go to patreon.com. Throw me $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, something, because this work is really starting to reach people. I've been getting a lot more messages in my inbox and from multiple different social media venues and avenues from people who are finally getting in touch with the truth that they are truly beloved by God. And that's an incredible feeling. It's why I do what I do, and I want this to reach more people, which means we can make more content, and if we have more support, we have more things to do on our end. Plus, going into seminary this summer, I would really just like to just do creating content while I'm in school, rather than struggling to work a job, create content, and be a grad student at the same time. So if you wouldn't mind, go over to patreon.com/TheKevinGarcia and learn how you can be a supporting partner today. Again, that's patreon.com/TheKevinGarcia. And if for some reason you don't have extra cash that you can throw on, which I get it, I know the kind of season that you might be in, you can always help support the show by rating it on iTunes. Simply go over to your podcast app, and when you're looking at A Tiny Revolution, just click the 5 stars and leave a little review, and then share it with your friends, because honestly, it gets the show in front of other people. Oh, by the way, check out my friend Corey Pigg's new podcast. It's called Failed Missionary. He and I are going to be collaborating in a few months on an episode of that, and I'm so stoked about it. So go ahead and check out Failed Missionary on iTunes as well. And I think that's everything from me. And yeah, drop me a line over at thekevingarcia.com. Subscribe to the blog so you don't ever miss a beat of what's going on. So thank you once again for listening to A Tiny Revolution. Go see your therapist, take a walk outside, do some yoga if that's your thing. Honestly, hot yoga has been changing my life. Make some art, eat something delicious, and talk to somebody you really enjoy. Have someone buy you a coffee or a drink or something. You deserve it, honey. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Again, I'm Kevin Garcia. This has been A Tiny Revolution, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah!